down on the seafront again. I've already been clambering up a hill, researching alternative routes to go walking and talking, trying to find somewhere without so much wind and sea noise. So I went up the face of a hill and discovered that the pathway was very narrow and slanted and muddy and slippery, and the drop was quite extreme had I slipped or fallen. So that was a fail, but not really. Finding a place you don't want to go walking helps you to zero in on places that you do want to go walking. So it was a learning experience. But I've come back to the seafront because I wasn't ready to go home. Hello. There's a very different feel to walking in the daytime than at night. For one thing, I'm encountering a lot more people. And when you live in a town as opposed to a city, you kind of feel obliged to say hello. I'm just washing the mud off my shoes. And that raises all sorts of social dilemmas, because not everyone likes saying hello back. They consider it intrusive, and other people are very happy to say hello. And I think it's probably better to err on the side of over friendliness or over politeness. So far, one lady responded and smiled. One old man was deaf, and I tried to pass the time of day with him, but he couldn't hear anything I was saying. One chap gave me a very brusque, standoffish response, clearly considered it an unwanted distraction. Hello. I got 2 hellos from that old couple and half a smile. One lady had dark glasses on and a scarf wrapped around her face and a hat on. And I looked at her and smiled and said hello. If I got a response, I couldn't see or hear it. Hello. She looked a little bit frightened. That chap I just passed kept his gaze firmly planted on the ground in front of him. He definitely did not want to risk making eye contact. I do that too sometimes, being an awkward social penguin. I was thinking about happiness today. When I was at school, in maths class, which I hated, I would daydream and I would think about my future. Try to visualize what it would look like, who I would be, where I would be living, if I would have a family, what I would be doing for a living. And all I really wanted for my future was to be happy. I knew that money didn't automatically equate to happiness, nor professional success, nor a big house and a sports car. I knew that you could have all those things and be miserable, and conversely you could have none of those things and be happy. And now, 30 odd years later, I'm looking back at that child who was looking forward, and I can answer that question. Or can I? I can answer part of it. I can answer the question where I'm living, what I'm doing. Can I answer the question, am I happy? Define happiness. I think it's different for every individual, so I must define happiness for me. Is it a set of preconditions? If I have this and this and this in my life, that's everything I most want in the world. That should allow me to be happy. Or is it independent of all such preconditions? If it depends on preconditions, then it's a very fragile happiness. For all those things can be taken away. Health, wealth, that young couple were so engrossed in each other's company, they did not spare a glance. Not that I'm offended. I'm quite happy if people keep themselves to themselves. And so, if your happiness is based upon those preconditions, it's subject to being broken. And how happy can you be if in the back of your mind you know it's temporary, subject to change, it's not permanent, but it's on loan to you while your health persists, while your bank account remains healthy. And so it looks like the other kind of happiness might be the more fulfilling kind, the more deeply satisfying kind, the kind that depends upon nothing external, nothing material. And what is that? It is being happy with who you are and what you have, no matter who you are and no matter what you have, and no matter where you are, and no matter who you're with. If we grow up in a spiritual environment, that's probably fairly simple. And if we grow up in a material environment where we're constantly bombarded with adverts, with products, when we're indoctrinated from an early age to get a job, earn money, buy or rent a house, and fill it with things to compete with the neighbour, then we're very much steered towards a material definition of happiness. So you have to take it into your own hands to override that programming, to format that hard drive and reprogram yourself. Hello, Paul. Acceptance, surrender. It implies a kind of passivity, but I don't think it necessarily has to be a completely passive process or act. I think on the one hand you can accept what you have gracefully, accept what you can't change gracefully, while on the other hand still cultivate aspirations, as long as you have no expectation, no attachment regarding the outcome. regarding the journey that that aspiration takes you on. Can I get through? Thanks. I just passed an older couple who were not happy, or at least not friendly. They looked very miserable. And although they made eye contact, they absolutely would not smile and say hello. So it looks like internal, non-conditional happiness is the kind to aim for. And so every time something apparently goes wrong in your life, it's an opportunity to cultivate that non-conditional happiness, a lesson that you can either pass or fail. If you feel irritation, it's a fail. If you feel anger, impatience, regret, shame, any negative emotion, it's a clear indication that you failed that test, failed that lesson. I feel quite brave today. I've been walking and talking in public places in the daytime, amidst lots of people, relatively speaking. I've been searching all around for isolated, peaceful patches of the countryside to go walking and talking in, and not only are there none, or at least none that are quiet, the land is slipping into the sea at quite a surprising rate in the area where I live. And the most beautiful part of the coastline is the part that's slipping away quickest. The places available to me to go walking are getting smaller and smaller, fewer and fewer. And so that's a good lesson, a good test for unconditioned happiness. I'll have to travel further afield or learn to walk and talk in the urban environment. I will probably try both.